Yes, Jai Shri Gurudev. Good afternoon, one and all. Am I audible? Please check.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And now the PPT is also visible.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the heading of the PPT? The slide. Heading of the slide.
Helical.
Okay, helical gear. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Okay, only 16 participants are there. We'll wait 1 or 2 minutes. Then we'll start. Okay, wait another 1 or 2 minutes. Yes, good afternoon and all. Please check I'm audible and PPT is also visible. Yes, anyone can give me a response?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, today we are going to study the topic helical gear, again design of helical gear. First, we should know the what is the difference, what do you mean by helical gear? So, helical gears are nothing but here the teeth are cut at an angle to the teeth are cut at an angle to the axis of the rotation. Now, as you see that in the spur gear, if you consider this is the axis of the spur gear, this is the axis of the spur gear. Now teeth are how the teeth are formed here. Teeth are formed parallel to the axis of the shaft, right? Parallel to the axis of the shaft. Then that type of gear is called as a spur gear, right? Now if you go for formed teeth, that is at an angle to the axis of the rotation of the shaft or axis of rotation of the gear, then that type of gear is called as a helical gear. The teeth of the gear are cut and inclined to the axis of rotation. At what angle it is inclined, that angle is called as a helix angle, right? The helical gears are the connected to transmit the both motion and power between two parallel shafts. Then type of gear is called as a parallel helical gears. And if it is non-parallel or non-intersecting, see the camera here. Now if your two shafts are parallel, now to transmit the power from one shaft to another shaft, when two shafts are parallel here, then that type of parallel shafts are there, then you use helical gear. Then that type of gears is called the parallel helical gears. If two shafts are neither parallel nor intersecting, there also you want to transmit the power from one shaft to the another shaft, right? They are in the two different plane. Those type of gears is called as a crossed helical gears. Now you can see the in the figure number B, parallel helical gears and crossed helical gears. Now this is the what the gear it represent here. It is a parallel helical gear. Both the shafts are parallel to each other. Then here you can see that on another second in the figure B, the one axis shaft is this direction and another one is in this direction. The two shafts are neither parallel nor intersecting. Two shafts are neither parallel nor intersecting. That type of gear, what type of gear, helical gear we use here? Crossed helical gears. Then the see that meshing of helical gears must have the same helix angle. What is helix angle means? The teeth are cut at an angle to the axis of rotation. At what angle it is? The teeth are formed here. That angle is called as a helix angle, or the angle between the tooth and the axis of rotation. That angle is called as a helix angle. When two gears, helical gears are meshed each other means what should be there? The meshing of helical gear must have the same helix angle, but opposite in hands of helix. Opposite in hands of helix. That we can see here in the next slide. What is the opposite to that? Hands on helix. Yeah, now you can see the next slide. Please confirm to me the advantages.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now you can see the spur gear here, the axis of rotation of the spur gear. This will be the axis of rotation of the spur gear, right? Now you can see that the one is the helical gear is the left hand helical and another one is right hand helical. How do you judge the left hand helical? So now you can see this, use your left hand, the teeth which are formed here at a downward direction, or you can use the thumb. The thumb shows the teeth which is formed here. That is called as the left hand helical. If you use the left hand. Similarly for right hand, the thumb what is the shows here, and thumb which shows here in on which the teeth are cut at an angle to the axis of the rotation. The thumb shows the whether it is a left hand helical or right hand helical. If those two gears are there, then both the gears, the helix angle should be same and module should be also same. Then you mesh each other, then it transmit the motion and power from one shaft to the another shaft. Right? Then why do you go for helical gears? Why can't only spur gear you can use? In spur gear you can see that when two gears are mesh each other, what type of contact takes place? There is a line contact or surface contact. Due to line contact or surface contact, the contact surface is more. But what happens here? The shock loads are more. Okay. Then what about the when you transmit the motion from one shaft to another shaft with the help of spur gear, you can see that the what is the noises and vibration also more. Then in order to avoid that, we'll go for helical gears. Again, helical gears have some advantages. What is the advantage here? These gears have pick up the load gradually. How it takes load pick up the gradual means what type of contact takes place here? It is a point contact. It point contact at the one side and leaves at the another side. That's called as a point contact. It takes a gradual load, not sudden load it will take. That's the first advantage. Second advantage, in there is no sudden load is occurred here. The impact load on the measured gear is less. But in spur gear, you can see the impact load is more. That's why you can see the noises and vibration more here. And operate more quietly. The noise is less. And last one is the life and the life and the strong. It is stronger. These are the four advantages of helical gears. Major disadvantage is the in order to manufacture the helical gear, the time required and complexity of the gear to manufacture is more complexity there for helical gear compared to the spur gear. Spur gear you can easily manufacture, but when it comes to helical gear, which is somehow is complicated to manufacture the helical gear. That is a major disadvantage. Right? Helical gears are nothing but the teeth which are formed on an incline to the axis of rotation. Those gears are called as helical gears. In the helical gears, again two types. One is a parallel helical gears, another one is crossed helical gears. Next comes to the some of the terminologies which are used in helical gears. Now you can see the parallel helical gears. The two shafts axes are which are parallel. In crossed helical gears, the axis of the two shafts are neither parallel nor intersecting. Right? Now I can go for see the what are the terminologies used here. The first terminology you can use here helix angle. Now what is the helix angle here? Now see that here this is the axis of rotation of the shaft or a gear. This is the axis of rotation. So whatever the teeth are formed here, teeth are formed at an angle to the axis of the shaft, right? At an angle to the axis of the shaft. the teeth which are the angle between the teeth with respect to the axis of rotation, that is called as a helix angle. Helix angle is angle between the tooth and the axis of rotation is called as a helix angle. If helix angle is be 0, once helix angle is equal to 0 means what type of gear it is? If there is no inclined teeth are there, whatever the teeth form is parallel to the axis of rotation, then that type of gear is called as a spur gear, right? Next, second one, transverse pitch. Transverse circular pitch. As you know, the circular pitch is nothing but it is a as the circumference along the point of contact between the two measured gear, that is called as a pitch point. If an imaginary circle which you drawn is called as a pitch circle, right? The circular pitch means it is along that the pitch circle. So how many teeth are formed here, or what is the circumference of that pitch circle? That is a pi into d, right? So pi into m module, where pi model is nothing but what? D by z, pi d by z. But here two types of circular pitch is there. One is transverse, another one is normal. So what is a normal means? If you take a tooth, if you take a tooth, draw a line which is perpendicular to the tooth. Draw a line which is perpendicular to the tooth. Then if you take the distance between the two consecutive gears or adjacent gears at the same point, normal to the gear tooth, that circle, that pitch circle is called as a normal circular pitch. If you take perpendicular to the axis of the rotation, if you take perpendicular to the axis of the rotation, then take the distance between two consecutive gears of the same point, if adjacent point, then it called as a what type of pitch? It is a transverse pitch. Transverse pitch. Now design of calculation is based on this. The normal direction means whatever the pitch you consider here, perpendicular to the tooth here. Okay, what is the pitch? The distance between two consecutive the gears or adjacent gears. If you take one point on the one gear, the adjacent gear is the same point you take there. What is the distance between those two the gears of the location perpendicular to the tooth area? That is called as a normal. If it perpendicular to the axis means transverse. Now again there is a relation between transverse circular pitch and normal circular pitch. What is the relations here? Now here we draw a line a perpendicular to the tooth form. That pitch circle is called as a normal pitch. If you draw a perpendicular to the axis of rotation, that is called as a the two consecutive points on the gates adjacent gates is called as a or perpendicular to the axis is called as a transverse pitch. Now what is the angle included here? That angle included between the normal pitch and circular so transverse pitch and normal pitch, it is beta, helix angle. Then I want to express the relation between the normal pitch in terms of transverse pitch. Now it is a right angle triangle. Right, this is a right angle triangle. The hypotenuse is transverse pitch. Adjacent side is normal pitch. Now what is the normal pitch is equal to? Normal pitch is equal to that is adjacent side. For adjacent side it is hypotenuse into that is PT into. So what trigonometric term will come? Cos beta. Cos beta, right? The normal pitch is equal to the transverse pitch times of cos beta. Now here the cos beta will come to the picture in almost in all the formulas that are used in design procedures for gear. Same you can use, but cos beta will come to the picture in the formulas. And some of the other terminologies which are used here. One is a double helical gear. In the double helical gear, you can see in this sketch. What is a double helical gear? They both the left hand and right hand helix angle are both left hand and right hand helical gear which is formed on the single block. But there is a gap between those left hand helical gear and right hand helical gear. There is a gap between those two. For a single block, it is will go for form a teeth on the single block. One is on the left hand helical gear, another one is on the right hand helical gear. Between those two, we have a distance here. That is called as that type of gear is called as a a crossed helical gear or double crossed helical gear. If there is no gap between the left hand helical gear and right hand helical gear on the single blank, then that type of gear is called as a herringbone gear. So why do we go for use double cross helical gear and herringbone gears? When you go for transmit the both motion and power from one shaft to another shaft with the help of helical gears, there are different forces are existed. The one force is called as a axial force. The more axial force exerted in the helical gears. In order to avoid, if more axial force is means on the each shaft, gear shaft, what we use here bearings at the and no more load is acting on the bearings. The bearings may be failure. In order to avoid that, we'll go for a double cross helical gear and herringbone gear. These are the five terminologies are used. One is helix angle, the angle between the helical tooth to the with respect to axis of rotation. Second one is a transverse pitch, is nothing but is the distance between two adjacent gear along perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Normal pitch nothing but is the distance between two adjacent gears measured along the perpendicular to the gear tooth. Then double helical gear and herringbone gears. Yes, any doubt regarding that? What do you mean by helical gear? Then what is the difference between spur gear and helical gear? And they can take the advantage and disadvantage also. Then some of the terminologies. Yeah. Now the next slide is visible. Please confirm to me.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Now the next slide is helical gear forces. What are the different forces acting on the helical gears? So as you see that in spur gear, there are only two forces acting. One is that is the static load. In the static load, what is the normal force exerted? That's split into two component. One is tangential force, another one is radial force, right? Similarly here, if you go for helical gears, now what are the different forces acting here? Now consider this is the axis of the shaft. Now again tooth which are formed here at an angle to the axis of the gear is called as a that angle is called helix angle, right? If you consider a one point on the helical gear, that's a pitch point where the two helical gears are mesh each other. That point is a pitch point. On the pitch point, if you want to transmit the motion and power from one helical gear to the another helical gears at the contact surface, now what is the force which is acting here? The force which is acting here along the pressure angle, means the angle between the tangent to the base circle and tangent to the pitch circle, that forms an angle. That angle is called as the pressure angle. If you take that the pressure angle here alpha, now along this the force is normal force is exerted here. Now we'll go for form a cuboid here. Now that force is resolved into two component. One is a vertical. So instead of take okay, one is a vertical, another one is the horizontal, right? Now the resultant force is F. Resolve that into two component. One is a vertical, that is called as, again it is a right angle triangle, right? It is a right angle triangle. You can see the hypotenuse is F, resultant force. The angle it is pressure angle alpha, right? Now what is this force is there? Resolve it into two components. This is the opposite side. This one is, that is ABC. This is a triangle, right angle triangle. You can see the ABC is a right angle triangle. The hypotenuse is F. What is the angle which is formed here? Normal pressure angle or alpha. This is a right angle triangle. The side which is opposite to the angle is called as the opposite side, right? This is the opposite side. Now this is the resultant force acting here. Now this is the opposite side, and this one is adjacent side. For opposite side, which trigonometry term will come? Sin alpha, right? What is the opposite side is equal to? As you know, the sin theta is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. Now opposite is equal to hypotenuse into hypotenuse into sine alpha. That is, what type of force which acts here? That is a radial force, that force acting along the radius of the helical gear. Fr is equal to F into sine alpha. Again, if we take adjacent side, for adjacent side, the cos alpha is equal to adjacent by hypotenuse. Then adjacent side is equal to what? Hypotenuse into cos alpha. Right? Now this is BC is the F into cos alpha. Again, resolve that component into two vector. Again, one is horizontal, another one is along the axis direction, another one is perpendicular to the axis direction. Again, you consider this is also one of the right angle triangle, that is BCD. BCD. Now consider this right angle triangle BCD. Right? What is BC is a hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is what? F into cos alpha. That is you determine from the right angle triangle ABC. Right? So what is the angle included here? That angle included here, it is a beta. That is helix angle beta. The side which is opposite to the angle is called opposite side. The side which is adjacent to the angle is called adjacent side. For the angle with the side which is opposite to the beta, will get what you get here, the hypotenuse into sine beta. Hypotenuse is F into cos alpha into sine beta. What type of it is? It is called as, it is parallel to the axis of rotation, that is axial force you will get. That is axial force, F suffix A. Another one is perpendicular to the axis of the rotation, that you get a tangential force, F suffix T. What is the tangential force here? F in hypotenuse into cos beta. Hypotenuse is F into cos alpha into cos beta. Now from this, when you transmit the motion and power from one shaft to the another shaft with the help of helical gear. So what are the forces are acting here on the gear tooth here? One is a tangential force, second one is a radial force, and third one is axial force. Right? The radial force which is acting here perpendicular to the axis of rotation and along the radius of the gear tooth. Second one is the axial force which is acting parallel to the axis of the rotation of the gear. And third one is a tangential force which is acting perpendicular to the axis of the rotation. These are the three forces which are acting on the helical gears. But in spur gear, only two forces. One is tangential force, another one is a radial force. Radial force is a compressive force. Here also is a compressive force. Right? Axial force is nothing but a tensile force here. Again, tangential force, that is a force which is mainly used to transfer the power, means twisting moment. MT stands for twisting moment. Right? Moment is equal to force into radial distance. Right? Here the tangential force is, that force is mainly used, that causes to transfer the torque or transfer the power. Okay. These are the three different forces are acting on the helical gear forces. Is any doubt regarding this slide? Just give me a response.
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we'll go for design of helical gear, design procedure of helical gear. The design procedure of the spur gear, what we discussed and what we solved the problems on that. The for design procedure of helical gear is same as that of design procedure of spur gear also. Only the terminology, only the thing is the beta helix angle will come to the picture. That is cos beta will come to the picture in some problem. And also instead of the module, here are two types of module. One is normal module, it is perpendicular to the gear tooth. Another one is transverse module, that is perpendicular to the axis of the rotation of the gear. Those two the terminologies will come. Again, so before going to design procedure, as you know, the design is nothing but design of measurement is nothing but is a process of assigning the specification of a helical case to withstand the load or to do its function, right? What again, what are the specifications? As you know that the shape, size, materials and methods, and last one is arrangement of parts. And what are the loads are acting here? Static loads. Static loads are here. Tangential load, that is mainly used to transmit the, that causes to produce the torque or transmit the power. Only that force to consider. Dynamic load, then wear load. What is function? The main function of helical gear is to transmit the both motion and power from one shaft to the another shaft. Right? This is the design of helical gears. Then what are the design procedure? Then before going to design procedure, what are the terminologies we use? As you know that we start from alphabetic letter from A to Z. What is the A stands for? A stands for the center distance between the two shafts that you can see in the diagram. Again, the two gears are there. The gear which is having a smaller in size, that gear is called as a pinion. That is always we notated. Notation we use here 1. The gear which is in larger in diameter, larger in size, that we call as a simply called as a gear. That notation what we used here 2. Right? Next, what is A stands for? The center distance between the two shafts. And as you know, the formula is A is equal to D1 plus D2 whole divided by 2, where D1 D2 are the physical diameter of pinion and gear, whole divided by 2, that we can see in the data handbook equation number 23.229. Then B stands for phase width in millimeter. C stands for dynamic load factor or coefficient. In the C again we have substitutes are there. C suffixes service factor. That service factor is not given. Assume medium shop, 8 to 10 hours duty per day. Then KCCV, that is also equal to K suffix V. That is a velocity factor. It depends upon mean pitch line velocity. Here one more C suffix W. Here that is called as a wear and lubrication factor. Okay, usually when helical gears are used, there is a point contact here. It takes gradually load means we use a lubricant in between the meshed gears. And compared to the square gear, more lubricants you can use in the helical gears. Then also use what type of lubricant you can use and what method you can use it. That is a wear and lubrication factor. Then D stands for physical diameter, suffix 1 stands for pinion, suffix 2 stands for gear. Again, what is the physical diameter? It's a Mn into Z1 divided by cos beta. Mn stands for normal module, right? The module which is measured along perpendicular to the tooth. Z1 is the number of teeth on the pinion divided by cos beta. Beta stands for helix angle. Okay. That is you can use directly here by using data handbook, that is equation number 23.227. Again, it is similarly for D2 physical diameter of larger gear, that is gear, the equation number 23.228. Again, E stands for Young's modulus, F stands for force. Here what type of force here? One is tangential force, dynamic force, another one is wear load. Now we will not consider the radial and axial forces on the gear because those magnitude and magnitude of those forces are very less compared to the tangential tooth load, right? Yeah, only 10 minutes time has left. One session is ended. Please rejoin the session. Next, I stands for, as you know, the speed ratio or velocity ratio. Then K stands for load stress factor. Again, next, Mn stands for normal module. As you know, that module is nothing but it's a, what is the along the pitch circle, what is the distance is covered by each teeth per tooth. How much distance is covered by a tooth is called as a module. Module is equal to D by Z. Here we use two types of module. One is normal module nothing but perpendicular to the tooth which is measured. Another one is transverse module, that is measured here perpendicular to the axis of the rotation. Then what is the relation between normal module and transverse module? It is, this is M suffix T. The transverse module is is a normal modulated by cos beta, that you can see in the equation number 23.212. Again, N stands for speed of the pinion and gear in RPM. P stands for power. And small p, not capital P here. Sorry, make a correction. Small p is a circular pitch. Again, two circular pitches are there. One is normal circular pitch, another one is transverse circular pitch. That is a relation between normal and transverse circular pitch. Pn is equal to Pt into cos beta. That is a 23.211. Q stands for ratio factor, that is Z2 by Z2 times of Z2 by Z1 plus Z2, or 2 times of D2 by D1 plus D2. Then small r stands for physical radius of the gas in millimeter, that is D by 2. V stands for V is equal to Vm, the mean crystalline velocity, that is pi dn by 60,000. If you measure d in millimeter, then you get meter per second, where y stands for Lewis-Tooth form factor. Capital Y is a pi into Lewis-Tooth form factor. Z is number of teeth on the gear. One stands for pinion, two stands for gear. And one more, another terminology is used here, ZV, virtual number of teeth, or equivalent number of teeth. Okay, what is the virtual number of teeth means? It is equivalent to the, if you measured along the normal to the tooth of the gear, normal to the teeth of the helical gear. Now, what is the number of teeth which is equivalent to spur gear? That is called as a virtual number. Virtual means imaginary. Okay, not exist, not real it is. So Z suffix V stands for virtual number of teeth. That is equal to equivalent number of teeth if we used for spur gear along the normal, along the, what is the pitch circle which is measured along the normal to the tooth of the helical gear. That is called as a virtual number of teeth. Now, what is the relation between virtual number of teeth and actual number of teeth? It is ZV is equal to Z by cos Q beta. That is equation number 23.285. Next terminology is sigma stands for stress, allostatic stress. Then alpha stands for pressure angle. Here alpha is equal to alpha n, normal pressure angle. That is measured in degree. Now these are the terminologies which are used before going to design a helical gear. Now what is the procedure we follow? What procedure we follow for the spur gear? Same design procedure we follow for helical gear also. Again we have a 5 step. What is the first step? Identify weaker member. Whether the pinion or gear is weaker, then design should be based on weaker member. Second step, design against static load. Third step, design against dynamic load. Fourth, right? Then we go for, sorry, before going to design against dynamic load, take the dimensions. Next, design against dynamic load. Then last, design against wear load. These are the 5 steps of the design of gears. Same procedure we follow here. Yeah, first identify the weaker member. How do I identify weaker member? First note, if both the pinion and gear made up of same material, which is a weaker member is, pinion is a weaker member. If both the pinion and gear is made up of different material, then you go for construct a table. How do you construct table? First you take, first column is the particulars. It may be, one is the stands for pinion, two stands for gear. Second column, allowable static stress. Third one is Lewis-Tooth form factor. The product of allowable static stress and Lewis-Tooth form factor, that product, which one is lesser value is there, that will be the weaker member. Now, how do we take allowable static stress? But earlier we refer the table 23.18. But for helical gears, we go for refer the table 23.48. So please adhere, please see that what are the changes are there. Keep in mind those changes. Here, which table you will go for refer to take the allowable static stress? Referring the table 23.48 to apply the allowable static stress. For a given material of the pinion and gear, you can take the sigma naught 1 and sigma naught 2. Next, Lewis-Tooth form factor. It is similar to the previous one only. So what is the Lewis-Tooth form factor? How do you consider? Based on the pressure angle and tooth form. Pressure angle, it may be 20 degree full depth involute, or 20 degree step, or 14.5 degree involute. Based on the pressure angle and tooth form, We'll go for select the Lewis-Tool form factor for both pinion and gear by using equation number 23.1152 to 23.117. Now here, what are the changes are there? Don't take the actual number of teeth, convert into virtual number of teeth. Put z is equal to zv1. Again, zv is equal to what? Z by cos cube beta. Put z is equal to zv1 to get y1. Similarly, put z is equal to zv2 to get y2. Then back substitute to this table. Now take the product of those allostatic stress and Lewis-Tool form factor. Then which one is the lesser in magnitude? That will be the weaker member. Right? Design should be based on what? Design should be based on weaker member. Whether pinion is weaker or gear is weaker, based on that weaker member, we'll go for design that gear. Next, that completes the first step. Identify the weaker member. Second step, design again a static load. Again here, what type of load you consider here? Only you consider tangential tooth load. In the tangential tooth load, one is tangential tooth load due to the power transmission. Again, the same equation we use, equation number 23.87b, right? Where P stands for power in watt, CS stands for service factor. If that factor is not given, assume medium short, 8 to 10 hours duty per day. By referring table number 23.13, we take that value, that is CS is equal to 1.5, where N and R are the speed and physical radius of the weaker member, right? Now N is the tempo, N and R physical, N and R are the speed and physical radius of weaker member. Here, what is the physical here? R is equal to D by 2. What is a D here? I want to express the physical diameter in terms of the module on number of teeth. We'll go for use Mn, Mn by Mn into Z by cos beta. Now cos beta come to the picture here, right? Yeah, these are the slightly changes. What are the changes are there? Be aware those changes and go for solve the problem. Now back substitute will get Ft in terms of normal module will get. Next, second one, tangential tooth load from Lewis equation. Now see that equation number is changes here. From the design data and book, tangential tooth load for the helical gaze from Lewis equation is the equation number 23.286. What changes here? Two additional terms come here as compared to the spur gear. Two additional terms. We'll go that is cos beta and CW. We'll go by step. What is sigma naught? All over static stress for weaker member. What is the B? That is phase width. Again, phase width that you should take here by referring the equation 23.277 and 23.280. Whatever the phase width you choose, that should be greater than Pt by tan beta. There is a minimum phase width. This is the maximum phase width. Whatever the B we should select, there should be less than 20 times of mt by tan beta. Now once you determine phase width, you should check this